Howdy lovelies, how are you all doing? Welcome back to our crafting, where we learn, grow and craft together. Today we are going to make a mini journal and a junk journal side layered pocket. That will be great for adding your ephemera to your journal, or just to put in little bits of journal cards, journal spots, those type of things. So what is a side layered pocket? It's just a pocket that is on the side and you can add things in. I've got a shabby chic example that I will show you. So actually I've got how many? There's 5 here. There they are. They're all the same size. I made this previously, so I'll just use those little index cards of the other day. They fit in like this. So obviously this will be, some of them will be, oh, this might, no, it's just too tight, but it fits in like that. So if you add whatever, let's grab our little container again and see what we have to fit in there. That would rather make sense. And now this one, there we go, I can get that one out. We need something small. Oh, we've got those tiny little tags of the other day. You can just add that in there. I'm just going to put a few things just so that you can get the idea. Doesn't have to be this size. It really truly can be different sizes. Let me grab another little card just so that you can have the idea of how it will look. Now you can put it like this in your journal. You can actually glue it down on 3 sides so that you can add another tag. I'll grab one of those library cards and pockets that we made the other day. You can add that. I'll take that one out just for now so that you get the idea. Then you can add that, so it will in fact then be 5 pockets, because there's 1, 2, 3, and then that one. Sorry, it will be 4 still. There's 3. This one, 1, 2, and 3, and that one will be the 4th one. So it can be longer, it can be shorter, it can be really a bit narrower. It does not matter. You can put ephemera in it. You can put a few tags or labels. I always call them tags when I mean to say labels. I just want to get those out of the way. And I'm just grabbing a few, literally just pulling this from our little trusty tray with all the bits and bobs in it. You can add this any which way you want, maybe a few in the front, and you can send this in happy mail to somebody. You can add it to a journal. You can add it to a card with say you have a gift card and maybe a little bit of money and a note or a little card or whatever you have to add to the card. There really is so much that you can do with this. And truly it is the easiest thing to do. So I'm going to just pull all these out because we will use them sooner or later and not have them in here. They do fit. They're still vintagey, though this is more of a shabby chic feel with the type of paper that I have used for this. And you can see the back is just the back of the paper. That's it. Some of it is a little bit more beige than others, and others more white. I didn't do anything. So if you want to have it floating around in your journal, you can maybe add another piece of paper to the back, or even another pocket if you want to. Nothing stops you from having this as a double pocket, I mean to say. And then you can maybe just, again, glue down 3 sides and have that pocket in between. So it will be something of that sort, if that is making sense to you. And then you can really have it floating around in your journal. So let's get started in making some of these. I'm going to grab some paper and just clear the desk for a moment so that we've got workspace. So I grabbed a few pieces of paper. These are 5.5 wide. So I've just got 3. I need 4. So I'm going to take this old scruffy looking piece of scrapbook paper, and I'm going to just slice that at 5.5. There we go. And then we have another piece for another time, and We don't need that complete length, but if you want to know the length of these papers, let me just move this so that I can just, they are 8.5. So I'm going to go ahead and just chop this one off at 8.5. Make sure it's flush and just slice that off. There we go. So the pieces of paper are all the same. Now, what do we need to do? It's actually so simple. We need 4 layers. You can decide which layer you want to put where. What I normally do is, and that is why I had 5 of these, I actually slice them and just whatever is left of the paper, I would then use for the other parts. So basically, this one is 4 inches wide or 10 centimeters. The first layer, this one in this example, which is pink, is 1 inch or 2.5 centimeter. The second one, you can't see it, but it goes in there, so it will be this length, is 2 inches. So they simply just double up every time. This one is 3 inches and this one is 4. So you can see there it's a little bit more sturdy, a little bit thicker, but here it's quite flimsy because of the layers. And then you just glue the pink layer onto the white, onto the teal, onto the brown. Those are the colors that I have, and as I said, it's more shabby chic. We will continue with the mushroom theme. Now, my paper is really scruffy, as I had been stamping and inking on this for quite a while, and I'm going to just start with this one. So this needs to be 4, so I'm going to just put it on the 4-inch mark. Just make sure that it is straight. Now I want mine this width, and I will show you. So basically I can get 2 and a bit. This one is a bit longer, so this will be 4 and a bit. If we measure it, it's 4.5. So you can either keep it at that, which I think I will just for today, it doesn't really matter. You can just have it a little bit bigger every time. So I'm indecisive now. I'll do it at 4 so that it's easier for everybody. So those will be the backs, and I can then glue it down. Now if you look at this, this one is, let's see quickly, 1.5 inches longer or wider than the original example that I have. But it's fine, you can adjust it. You can make it much longer if you so wish. You can make it half of this, 3/4 of this. It really isn't set in stone that you have to do it a certain width or whatever. The increments can be 1.5 inches, so the next one will be 3, and the one after 4.5, and this one might be 6 inches. Or you can do a 2, 2, 2, 2. It really is up to you to decide. All that it is that it is layered, and just make sure that it is spaced well. So for this one, I'm going to, what do I want first? I kind of like this one. Okay, I will do this one. That will be my first, and I will be cutting that at 1 inch. 1 inch. Then I will do this one for the next one at 2 inches. For the, remember we've got 2 of these ones at the back. So this will be for the one, and this one will be for the other. So I want to just have a bit of difference in there. So I will chomp this one off at 2, which will go with this one, and then this one needs to be 3 inches. So I will just get another one in front there, and then for this one I want to chomp the one off at 3 for this one side pocket, side layered pocket. So we've got 3 layers there, and now I need to do this one, and I think they will be very much the same, but it doesn't matter. It is what it is. I will just ink it and stamp something on top just to make sure it stands out a little bit. So now I've got the 4 layers, and I'll just put my scoring and cutting board to one side. These papers that I used are really so old. I can't even remember what make they were. I'm going to use a paper rounder, a corner rounder, and just round my edges. That one is a bit ugly, so let's do this side then. Just look at what you have. Your paper, it can be book pages. If you don't have a little bit thicker paper, you know, something that's a little bit more sturdier, you can glue down 2 book pages or book pages on top of each other and make it sturdier that way. Now here I'm going to just be lazy a bit, and I'm going to show you how we can save time by putting 2 layers on top of each other just to save some time. And there you have that. So I will take these 2, and here we're just going to round 2 edges, which will be the outer edge. We will do the other one later. So let's not get confused. And then just align this so that we can line them up and punch them at the same time. Remember, I told you before, if your punch does not want to punch properly anymore, it can be that your paper is simply just too thin. If that's the case, just layer it up and you can then glue down your stuff. Right. Now for the gluing. But before we glue, some ink, of course, you know that. I always ink my edges, which is just, you can smear it along the way, but sometimes your paper buckles a bit and it goes right onto your paper. If you don't want that, then just do this action of going downwards on this side or the edge of whatever it is that you want to ink up. Otherwise, you can just simply glide it along the line and it just takes away that white inner core of the paper. This also sometimes hides imperfections. Just know that it's a quick way to just show when you maybe had not cut so straight, or there's a shark's tooth or something of that sort. Now with these ones, the same thing. With the lighter paper, obviously it will be much clearer. If you want this on a thicker cardstock, maybe something like 100 grams or something, these ones are not too thick, but it will definitely make it a little bit more sturdier. You can include this inside a mini journal and add some ephemera pieces that will be relating to your theme or your color or what it is. If it's motivational quotes or some happy thoughts, could be even birthday wishes. The options are really so wide. You can do this for any type of theme, color scheme, or type of journal that you can even think of. Just trying to keep the paper separate. Not really bothering me if I get it mixed up. I just have different colors for every layer, just so that there's that little bit of interest, more contrast between the layers, and that it is visually more pleasing. You don't want all the same. If you put that on top of each other, it doesn't really show up so well. And that's also a reason why I like to ink my edges. It just makes everything stand out a little bit more, and it is, like I said, visually more pleasing. If inking the edges is not your thing, skip it. Nobody forces you to do this. You do you. There is, thankfully, no right or wrong way in doing junk journaling or journaling per se. Journaling, as is a journal, is a very personal and unique thing. We're going to start at the back. So I am just going to line this up. Starting with that one, I want that one at the back so I can hide that little piece where you can see, even if I try to fix it, it goes bigger because I had stuck something down and I pulled it off and it ripped the top layer of this paper. So for the first one, I'm just going to see, I'm thinking of starting with this one. Now you will see I didn't cut my corners. You know what? I should have done that. Let's do it this way. Okay, we'll do it this way. So hold it the side where you don't want it to be glued so that you can't get confused with adding glue. You can use a glue stick. You can use art glitter glue if you have that. Like I said always, and I think I didn't change the light. I just realized because the glare on my page for the introduction is just so much that I turn the light away. So the next layer again, hold it, and then where you don't want glue will be your fingers. Then you have your hand to just put the glue on as thin as possible. I'm now in a hurry, so I'm really truly not adding this too carefully, and definitely not the thinnest of glue streams coming through that nozzle. If you have a bit of a glue spill, just use a baby wipe and just wipe it off. Within minutes it will be. Now this is a little bit more difficult. Just with a steady hand you can hold it. I had so many times in my life put glue on the wrong side of my project and then had to cut again, because once there's glue on, you know, it's kind of messed up. So there we go. Now look at this one. I think I got confused, but it is what it is. Still different. I will just stamp. If you are worried that you will stamp on the background, you can simply, and there we have, number one is done. We'll just give it a moment so that the glue can settle down. Just make sure with the liquid glue it can still move around. So this one, let's do this one. Same thing. Going to glue this down, holding at the side where we don't want glue. That's just like a safety measure. If you're more mindful than I am when crafting, I'm so impressed with you. I tend to forget my own name when I'm busy crafting because my mind just wanders. If you want the edges rounded, you can do that. My other one, it was this way around, the rounding showing away from me, and this is level. It really truly is up to you. You do you. For today I want a different look, so you've got options. You can also do it with fancy punches. That is a little bit more intricate. There are loads of those on the market. If you have any of those available, I'm now thinking of, just because I have a few of the Martha Stewart punches. Those are some great ones, but man, oh man, they are really pricey. You have the ones that can cut in a circle, but you have to get the, I can't call it a plate, but the rounding part to place it on to punch like a doily shape. And those punches can stretch out so you know exactly where it ends and starts. So you can punch right across a page as well. The last bit of this, again holding it where I don't want the glue, just to get myself from making a boo-boo. And there we have it. Just flip it over and glue it down. There we have that. And there goes the prayer call. So you will hear that in the background for a moment. So our little junk journal side layered buckets are done. It's time to just finish it off with a little bit of stamping, especially this one that is almost the same. This one is fine. This one, I would love to just do a bit of stamping there just to get it contrasting a little bit more with that background. So putting the stamp on a stamp block and just adding this ink to the stamp. Now if you're scared you stamp on the other, you can always put something in. I don't mind, but I'll show you. I always get this stamp upside down. Well, it is what it is, right? Just a little bit, maybe a bit more this side. I'll just take a little card there and maybe a little bit at this side, at the bottom, and there we have it. You can honestly use any type of paper you want. I'm not going to add anything more to this as it is already layered, and we can then add our goodies to this bucket. Now I just want to show you, if we add a few things, we've got so much already in this bucket that you can literally put anything in there. There we have that one. One of those library cards we made the other day can go in there. Let's put that there. Something like these tiny little tags. Should be dry by now, so it shouldn't stick in there. 4 of them should fit in beautifully in there. Let's see if they will. We can move that one a tiny bit up, like spacing them well. Something of that sort. You can have this one. Maybe that little piece that would have been thrown away can go in there. And I would love to get a little bit of those coins, our beautiful coins. Remember those? We made those round ATCs as well. Oh, let's do one of those just to show you. Not to say we will leave it there, but we can maybe add that to the bucket. Have something like that peek out. Maybe a mushroom there. Options are legal. So we can honestly do whatever your heart desire. Do we have bigger tags that are bigger than those tiny little ones, but not so big that they won't fit in? We've got this one. I think this one will fit in there. And I try to take things that are a little bit darker, a little bit more contrast. Our little tickets, remember our tickets from that session, we can add those. We had done those other labels, so you can really add this to a, I just want to put that there, so that is still in the frame. For Happy Mail, or if you are giving a journal to somebody as a gift, you can add this. Our journal cards can fit in there. We can maybe move that one there, or like so. You can really honestly put anything in there, and it will look absolutely amazing. So I'm not going to keep our ephemera in there. I like to keep it in here. I sometimes just go through them and have a look at them. So this will go into our box as well, as we are really nearing almost the end of the series. What's in the basket? We will add it to the box. Look at this. It's really truly filling up. There's a lot. We can squash it down a bit, so there's still a bit more, but we're really getting to the end. So you can start working on those coffee dyed papers or tags, whatever you want to, book pages, newspapers. Remember, newspaper are very, very flimsy when it's wet. it actually pulls apart and tears. So I would suggest you rather just paint it on with a paintbrush or spray it with a spray bottle and leave it to dry. The minute that it is a little bit more drier, almost dry damp, you can then move it and get it to really dry properly. I had coffee dyed some of that deli paper. No, it wasn't deli paper. I am lying. What is it called? It's not a true papyrus. What is it called? I can't even remember the name. A little bit thicker, not as thin as vellum. If I think of it, I will just comment it below in the description box. So now I want us to have a little bit of a practice run in making a mini journal, just so that we are a little bit more confident when we are going ahead, making our cover, and then adding the signatures. What will we need? We need some sturdy cardboard. I will use a cereal box or some product that came in a box, and I will be using that. So grab anything you want to use as your cover. I'm going to grab a, what is it called, a paper bag to cover that with, and then a little, I don't know, some box. I will have to look for something. I am back, and like always, because I do not plan these things ahead of time, I decided last second to change. I'm not going to use a box. You can use something like pancake mixture, little jelly box. It depends on what's the size of your journal. We have some 4x8 inch big tags, so we would have to probably make it somewhere in the region of 9 inches tall. The width could be anything from 8, depending, we will see when we get there. Now for this little mini journal, I'm going to use a few sheets of paper. I've got 5 sheets here that are coffee dyed. You can see the powder of the coffee still on there. You can wipe that off if it bothers you. The pages that I used was torn from a book. I want it to be the same. So these are rounded, and I'm going to just cut this off so I can get this rough edge away. Now it will be slightly smaller, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to fold it then in lengthwise. So I'm quickly going to go ahead and just slice this, and I'm going to put this through, trying to keep this together nicely. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to just, this is not going to work like that. So just more or less keep it together, and then we can, so this will be 5 1/8, 5 1/4. Yeah, I'm still learning this. Honestly, I'm still learning to know the inches. I work in centimeters always. That is done. I don't throw that away. I will add this to a tag or something somewhere along the line, and it gives awesome texture. Now I'm going to just trim this. This is not a very big rounding, so I guess it will be the medium one. And yes, I am putting in all 5 of them at the same time because they're quite thin. And there we have it. So there's our paper, and they look more or less the same. Yes, it will be different. Might be good for a shopping list. In the end, it doesn't matter. Now the paper, let's measure the paper. The width of it is that, so that we can know. So it's 5 and a bit. I'm going to cut it at 5 1/2. Now the length of this, I just want to open up my, there we go, paper trimmer. There to there is, let's just line it up nicely, is 8 3/4. So I'm going to cut my cardstock at 8 and it needs to be this way. Am I right? Now that is just, there we go. That's perfect. 8.5 would have been perfect. Let me just check the length. That's better. So we want to fold this. I'm going to, and I'll show you why I do it a tiny little bit bigger. If I did not add this or attach it perfectly straight, I still have some room to actually cut it down a little bit and trim it down. So I'm not a mathematician. I really am not. I never was, and I probably never will be. Anything with measurements is like daunting. So I'm just going to, let me just check this to make sure. 5 and a bit. So I'm going to cut it down at 5.5. That way I have that leeway. So it's lengthwise. I hope I didn't cut it too short now. I don't think I did. So I'm going to score this just so that it's easier to fold in half, just so that we have it. So 5.5. So it needs to be somewhere in there. And see, this is where my math is really truly messing me around, because I have to figure this out now. So half of 5 is 2.5, which would be there, but then I have to add the extra. See, I use logic, not math. And I'm going to just score it again. This is a metal tip. I don't want to press too hard, because then I might just cut the cardstock. And I'm going to do the same with my pages, just to make sure, or you can simply just fold it in half. But if you do that, can you see what's happening with the paper? Of course, they're all wrinkled. They tend to go always different directions, not wanting to stay flat, because they are wrinkled. And there, are we right? This one is 5 and a bitty. Okay, so, and then that one, so I think that is half. There we go. And this one I'm going to do 3 sheets together. Line it up from the side there. Because there's a few more sheets that one has got, but this one is so ever so faint. So just do that. Not too hard, because of the metal tip. It actually cuts the paper sometimes. And then you can just simply fold it over, and it will be easier to fold. So let's go ahead, and I'll do this now on the cutting board. You could have just simply folded over each one individually in half, just to make sure that it is in the halfway mark. And then we also will, now for the cardstock, you can just bend it a little bit, gauge it a little bit, but what works for me is to turn it over, especially when it's a bit of thicker cardstock, and then we are going to score it on that very same line, which is sometimes hard for me to do precisely. Looks like train tracks when I'm done, because it slips, just to get that little bit of a bend there. And you can gauge it that way. Bone folder, and exactly what I told you. I sometimes don't measure properly, and then there is that. I'm going to move this out of the way. Just give me a second, please. I decided to use the cardstock rather than a cereal box or something, because I don't want it that thick. Cut it down to size, though there is a little bit that is not perfect. My pages, I'm going to make a thin folio, very long, very thin. It's only a few. Let's measure it quickly for you. It is 2 and just over a half, 2.5 inches wide. Now when you add your paper to your signature, every page is giving you 4 pages. So sometimes I've learned that people are getting the pages confused now. See, some of them are like this and others are, that one is fine and that one is fine. All right. I'm going to staple this into this, and then we can trim it off all nicely. So, and we're going to do a little ribbon to keep it closed. You could have made a flap with magnets or some Velcro dots. I'm not even going to cover it in brown paper as I wanted to, with a paper shopping bag or a paper bag. I'm just going to do it like this. So, before we start trimming it down, I just going to get our good old stapler again so that we can open it up and staple it together. Eraser does the trick. Open it up again. You can use some bulldog clips if you have, just to keep it in place. And on this side, just to make sure it doesn't move. Now you can, if you want to, just measure more or less. I will be putting in three staples. Open up your stapler and you're going to place this there. Now if you want to, you can actually mark the middle for you if that is your thing that you want it perfect. I'm just going to add my staples sort of in the middle and then evenly. And I really truly just eyeballed it. So, and then there's that bit, and I'll be going to trim it off. So that distance and that distance is more or less the same. So we're going to then place our eraser on there so that there is a space for the staple to go in. I'm going to just turn this way so that you can see. On your staple, you can see where the staple is, on the stapler, you can see where the staple is coming out. So you're going to put that on that scored line and press in so that it's right on there. And then, again, using our bone folder, we're just going to fold this in. Trust me, it's painful if the staples, little pins are going right underneath the nail. It is really, truly painful. So I just work it with the edge so that that is there. Then you can pick whichever side you want to do next. Same thing, just put it on top there. If it's skew, like I've got, you can redo it. Just pull it out. Let me turn it so that I can see what I'm doing. And have it on that little, let me put that one flat, on that score line. That's much better. Turn it over, and again, get your score tool or your bone folder, whatever you have to use. You can do this with a pen, even pencil, and just bend it in so that it is staying in place. Turn this one over again like that. Why do I keep on turning my eraser now? It's just so much easier working from this way. Make sure that that attaches itself on that score line. Again, turn over and fold in. And press down so that it can't hook onto you. And there we have it. Now to trim this little one down, and then we will decide if we want a closure. I don't think I really want a closure. And I'm grabbing my, now just get the bone folder and burnish this really well, because remember this cardstock is really thick. We can do that, and then I'm going to just trim that little bit off and the top part as well. Now, this will be a little bit tricky, but bear with me. I'm going to put it in on, what's this size? 2 and, my goodness, less than a 3/4. So let's go. And I'm going to start with the inside. Right, we've got that part down. Anything else? There's a little bit. I'm going to just trim the paper with my hand, because it is not a lot that needs to be trimmed. And then we're going to trim that extra bit off on the top. See, it's just little bits of paper that needs to be trimmed. This one, let's open this one up. There needs to be a bit of space. Going to just trim this one off there. And there we go. So it's literally just the cardstock. And now we can go in. Sorry for this noise with the board in your ears. We will just trim this one as well, so that it looks the same to each corner separately, because this cardstock is a whole lot thicker, and if you punch too many layers of this, it will really struggle. The punch will not be able to make that. And there we have our folio. Yes, it is opening up because it's quite thick. If it had a spine, in other words, we had added a strip here and then guided it, it would have been easier. I'm going to look for a piece of brown ribbon to tie this with. Some ribbon, could be lace, we will see, whatever I find that I fancy. Now let's decorate this. You can do both sides, just the outside. I would really like to go ahead and do the same type of theme as what we had. What am I looking for? Definitely some, let's close that one for now. Yes, I'm grabbing the bright orange, which is Wild Honey in oxide ink. Just a little bit of that splashes. I'm going to turn it over so that we get the other side as well. And we have one more of those, that tiny dotted one. Tiny dotted one. We still have a piece here that has got ink on. I love the oxide inks. And you will see there's some brown coming through that was already on the stamp. Doesn't bother me that it's got those little splotches on. Right, I'm going to take Rusty Hinge, which is a little bit more of a rusty color than the Wild Honey, and the same thing. And you will see that it is still wet. And I want to turn it over for this side, maybe there, just a tiny bit. And I've got some of that ink on my workspace now, but it doesn't bother, we can just wipe it off. Maybe the front and the back, not just the front. There we go. There's some nice browns coming through there. I love the rusty look of that. When I do my steampunk journals and ephemera, I use Rusty Hinge quite a lot. And then I add some salvage patina, which is that awesome patina color. Really, really beautiful. Closing this up, and then we're going to go ahead with normal stamping. Now, when you want to clean your stamps, you can simply clean it with some water, because remember, this is water reactive. Let me show you. Just water. This is my distress water sprayer. And just take some tissue roll. I always have something next to me. And if you look there, it cleans it beautifully. And you would never even think that you had the oxide, distress oxide inks near the stamp. Would you always get your stamps clean? No, eventually there is some staining going on as you continuously use it. I never clean mine. I just wanted to show you today you can clean it with some water because it's water reactive. I'm going to add this stamp to the stamping block and add some ink to the stamp. I'm going to stamp that. I always like to keep the stamp there for a little bit longer, just to make sure it gives us a good impression. Some firm pressure, and we lift it, and there we have it. Easy, easy peasy. Another one. This time I want it in a different color. Going to take some walnut stain, maybe some tea dye. Let's do tea dye. And yes, you can decorate it however you wish. My way is not the only way. I want that there. You do you. Whatever is your liking. Nobody can tell you it's not right. It's what you find beautiful. As time goes on, maybe in another series, I can talk about design elements, line, harmony, color, all that type of stuff if you are interested. So let me know if that is something that you would find helpful or useful in your crafting. Vintage photo, walnut stain. Let's do walnut, which is a bit darker. I'll do half a stamp. Look, I've got the lid there underneath. And let's do field label. And I added it upside down, but not to worry, just turn the stamping block over. This is still not dry. The oxide ink is still not dry. I've got my heating tool here. Just give me a moment. I just want to close this, switch it on, and just to get this dry, I will be just drying this quickly. It dries fairly quickly, so we don't need too much constant heat. You can see the sheen of it still. Oxide, distress oxide inks are pigment based, so it does take a little bit longer than the normal distress inks. If you are impatient, you can use something else and just blot the excess ink. Alright, that is taking quite a bit of time. I am going to take one of our cards that we had previously stamped, and I'm going to just blot it. There will be merely specks of ink, if any, that is still wet, just to get this dry so that we can get moving. And there we have it. This is now, oh, there's still a little bit there. Just blotting it, and you can see the little bits of ink there. And that is not going to bother me at all. Right, just to save a bit of time there. What else do we want on here? Let's do the specimen or collector. Will we do collection or specimen? I think specimen rather. Which is from the rubber stamp set. Tim Hall's Field Notes. I will link it below for you. Yet again, like I always do in the description box. I try to do my description boxes as detailed as possible so that people that are hearing impaired can actually follow along and know what I had done. So I state all adhesives, labels, tags, everything that I use there, even the tools that I use and the inks. I think that is it for now. I want to just ink the edges, not with walnut stain, that's a bit dark. I won't just go with vintage photo as always. And I'm just doing the outside, just to work in that grunge, vintage look. You could use any type of paper. And again, as always, if the inking the edges is not your thing, you are more than welcome to skip this step. I never liked it till I started doing vintage. Then I kept on doing this. So now to just get a piece of lace that we can add, I will just look for something here. I don't even know if I've got brown lace, but brown will be perfect. Brown lace, maybe not lace. You know what? I'm thinking maybe just string. String will add to that rustic look. I'm just going to add a piece of string around here. First tie it, maybe 2 times, wrap it around twice, and then just do a little something with it. Now we can't tie a knot because then we won't be able to get it loose again, but we might just do a bow, and I think that is adding to the rustic look of this. I keep on pulling that one out too far. My goodness. There we go. And just maybe trim that side. And it can really fall where it wants to. This is just some string that I bought from the hardware store some time ago that I use here in my studio. And there we have our little folio, small little one with some 20 pages because we have 5, folded it in half, so we've got the front and the back, the other side, and then the back of that one. So 5 times 4 is then 20 little pages. This can easily be a notebook that you keep in your handbag with your shopping list if you so wish. Little notes, things that you have to remember, and this will be a lovely addition into our journal when we actually get to put it all together. So there we have that. And what did I do with the little side pockets? There we have it. The side layered pockets. Very, very easy to do and not time consuming. Absolutely a quick one. And there we have it. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you will try this for yourself. And please, if you do, tag Wawa Crafting on social media. I would love to see your makings. If you want to see more content like this, give me a thumbs up. If you have any ideas of anything else that you want to do, let me know. We can incorporate it maybe. I'll appreciate it also if you subscribe to my channel. See you back soon. Goodbye.